You are 25 years old and you believe you are doing fine. You have a marketing coordinator position at a mid-sized software company in Austin, Texas. Your salary is $58,000. You have a debit card you actually use and a credit card you keep for emergencies that currently has $3,400 on it from last November when your laptop died and flights home for the holidays cost more than you planned. You split a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. You have $1,100 in your checking account and $2,200 in a savings account at the same bank your parents used when you were a child. The interest rate on that savings account is 0.02% annually. You have never looked up that number. It has never occurred to you to look it up. Your company offers a 401k. You enrolled because the onboarding email said you should. You contribute 2% of your salary because that felt like a responsible number that wouldn't hurt too much. Your employer matches up to 4%. You are leaving half of your match unclaimed every single pay period, and you do not know this is happening. You feel like an adult. You feel like someone who has their life reasonably together. You feel, if you are honest, slightly ahead of most people your age. You are not ahead. You are already behind. And the distance between where you are and where you could be is not measured in dollars. It is measured in information you were never given and never thought to go looking for. This is the story of two versions of your life. Same person, same starting salary, same city, same apartment. The only difference is what one version of you decides to do on a Tuesday night in February when you have nothing else going on. In the first version of your life, that Tuesday night passes like every other Tuesday night. You scroll, you watch something, you go to bed at 12:30. The years move the way years do when you are not paying attention to them. You get a 3% raise at your annual review. You feel good about it for approximately 4 days. Then your rent goes up by $180 a month, and the raise disappears into the cost of staying exactly where you are. You pay your credit card minimum every month. The $3,400 balance never quite goes away. Some months it dips to $2,900. Then something happens, a car repair, a flight, a medical bill, and it climbs back to $3,600. The interest rate is 24.99%. You know this the way you know your blood pressure, as a number that exists somewhere, relevant to someone, not urgently relevant to you. At 27, you move into your own apartment. The rent is $1,650 a month. It feels like independence. It is also 34% of your gross income, which financial guidelines suggest should be your ceiling, and you are right at it, which means any unexpected expense pushes you over. At 28, your company is acquired. The acquiring company has its own marketing team. You are given a severance package of 6 weeks' pay. You have $800 in savings because the move cost more than you expected, and you never rebuilt the cushion. 6 weeks of severance for a job search that takes 4 months means 3 months on a credit card that ends at $11,200 by the time you land the next role. The next role pays $64,000. You feel relieved. You do not feel the $11,200 sitting behind the relief, compounding at 24.99% while you celebrate getting back on your feet. At 31, you meet someone. You talk about buying a place together someday. You look at mortgage calculators online and feel vaguely optimistic. What you do not know is that your credit score, which you have never checked, is 621 because of a 60-day late payment during the job transition that you forgot about, and a credit utilization ratio sitting at 78%. You will qualify for a mortgage. You will not qualify for a good one. The rate difference between your score and a 760 score on a 30-year $320,000 mortgage is $187 a month. Over 30 years, that is $67,320 in additional interest for the crime of not knowing your number or knowing how to move it. You are not making catastrophic decisions. You are not irresponsible. You are financially invisible to yourself, moving through a system you never learned to read, paying tolls you don't see, missing doors that were never pointed out to you. At 35, you have $41,000 in your 401k. It sounds like a lot, until you learn it should be closer to $175,000 if you want to retire with any comfort at 65. The gap between those two numbers is not bad luck. It is the accumulated cost of starting late, contributing too little, leaving employer match on the table for 3 years, and sitting in a default target date fund that charged 0.72% annually in fees, while index funds charging 0.03% sat one menu screen away. You will work until 67, if nothing goes wrong. In the second version of your life, that Tuesday night in February goes differently. You are not sure what prompts it. Maybe you saw something online. Maybe a conversation with a coworker made you feel the edges of something you didn't understand. Maybe you just had an hour in a search bar and a vague unease you could not name. You type something simple. How does compound interest actually work? You read one article, then another, then a thread. Then a breakdown of what a 401k match actually means in dollar terms. You do the math on your own situation and feel something shift in your chest. Not panic, something quieter and more useful than panic. Clarity about a problem you did not know you had. You stay up until 1:30, not scrolling, reading. The next night you come back, and the night after that. Over the next 4 months, you learn more about money than most people learn in their entire lives. Not because you are smarter, because you became curious at 25 instead of 45. And in personal finance, the age at which curiosity arrives is almost the whole game. The first thing you do is look up your savings account interest rate. It is 0.02%. You open a high-yield savings account the same week. The rate is 4.6%. You move your $2,200. You set up automatic transfers of $300 a month. It is not a dramatic move. It is the first of 50 small moves that compound into something unrecognizable over the next decade. You look up your 401k contribution and your employer match. You feel something between embarrassment and anger when you realize what you have been leaving behind. You log into the benefits portal and change your contribution from 2% to 4%. The employer match kicks in fully. You have just given yourself a raise that never shows up in your paycheck and never gets spent. You look at your credit card balance. $3,400 at 24.99%. You do the math on minimum payments and feel it land in a way it never had before. You are not going to invest a single additional dollar until this balance is gone, not because someone told you to, because you now understand that paying off 24.99% debt is a guaranteed 24.99% return, and nothing in any market can touch that. You pick up 3 freelance projects over the next 5 months. Every dollar goes to the credit card. The balance hits zero on a Thursday afternoon, and you feel something you did not expect to feel, not just relief, power. The specific power of understanding a system well enough to beat it. You are 26. You rebuild your savings to $5,000, $3 months of lean expenses. Enough that when your company is acquired at 28 and your position is eliminated, you have runway. You do not touch a credit card during the job search. You take 4 months to find the right role instead of the fastest one. The right role pays $79,000. You negotiate it to $84,000 because you read 3 articles about salary negotiation and practiced the conversation twice in your bathroom mirror. During those 4 months, you also read about index funds, about expense ratios, about the difference between your 401k's default fund charging 0.72% and the S&P 500 index fund on the same menu charging 0.04%. You switch the allocation in an afternoon. The decision takes 11 minutes. Over the next 30 years, it will be worth more than $90,000 in fees you did not pay. At 29, you open a Roth IRA. You contribute $6,000 that year. Then $6,500. You choose Roth because you understand that your income will likely be higher in retirement than it is now, and paying taxes today at a lower rate is mechanically superior to paying them later at a higher one. This is not a complex insight. It is a 1-paragraph explanation you read on a Wednesday. No one taught it to you in school. No one at your company mentioned it. It was freely available information that required only the decision to go looking. At 30, your company's new CFO hosts an all-hands meeting about a potential office expansion in Denver. She mentions they are exploring financing options and opens the floor to questions. Most of your colleagues ask about remote work policy and desk assignments. You ask about the debt-to-equity ratio on the expansion and whether rising rates affect the timing calculus. The room goes quiet for half a second. After the meeting, the CFO stops you in the hallway. She asks where that question came from. You tell her you have been reading about corporate finance in your spare time. She asks what you have been reading. You tell her. She emails you that evening with 3 more titles. 3 months later, a position opens in the corporate strategy team. She recommends you directly. The role pays $101,000. You are 30 years old and you crossed 6 figures because you spent a Tuesday night reading instead of scrolling and then kept going. This is not a story about genius. This is not a story about luck or connections or being in the right place. This is a story about the compounding return on a single moment of intellectual curiosity arriving early enough to matter. Let's stop the story for a moment and look at the numbers side by side, because the narrative is powerful, but the math is what should keep you awake. At 35, version 1 has $41,000 in retirement savings, $8,400 in credit card debt, a mortgage at a 7.4% rate because of a damaged credit score, and a net worth of somewhere around $12,000 when you subtract what is owed from what is owned. At 35, version 2 has $187,000 in retirement accounts across a 401k and Roth IRA, zero consumer debt, a mortgage at 6.1% secured with a 774 credit score, a fully funded 6-month emergency fund, and a net worth approaching $340,000. Same person, same starting salary, same city, 11 years of different decisions made possible by different information. The gap between $12,000 and $340,000 in net worth at 35 is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even income. Version 2 earned more, yes, but the income difference alone does not explain $328,000 in distance. The majority of that gap is the compounding effect of early, informed decisions made consistently over a decade. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. That gap does not stay at $328,000. It widens. Every year, the foundation of version 2 generates returns that version 1 does not have. Every year, version 1 pays interest that version 2 does not. The distance compounds the same way the money does, and it accelerates in both directions simultaneously. At 45, the gap is not $328,000. It is measured in millions. Here is the uncomfortable truth underneath all of this. Financial literacy is not taught in most schools, not because it is too complex for young people. 16-year-olds routinely master calculus and organic chemistry. The mechanics of a Roth IRA or an expense ratio or a credit utilization score are genuinely not complicated. They are learnable in an afternoon. The reason this information is not systematically delivered to you is that an informed population makes different decisions. People who understand compound interest do not carry revolving credit card balances. People who understand expense ratios do not sit in high-fee funds. People who understand credit scores do not accept the first mortgage rate they are offered. People who understand salary negotiation do not accept the first number on the offer letter. Every one of those informed decisions is money that stays in your pocket instead of moving to someone else's. The financial system is not evil, it is mechanical, and it is calibrated to extract maximum value from the people who do not understand how it works. Financial ignorance is not neutral, it is expensive. It has a precise dollar cost that compounds annually for as long as it persists. The wealthy do not get wealthy primarily by working harder. They own things that earn while they sleep. Equity, property, private credit, royalty streams, things whose value compounds annually while others exchange hours directly for dollars and start again at zero every Monday morning. The gap between those two modes is not moral. It is not about deserve. It is mechanical, and it is completely learnable. The rules were always available. The language was always learnable. The system was always understandable. It just required someone to hand you the first piece at the right moment. Version 1 retires at 67. The 401k has $340,000 in it. Social Security adds $1,840 a month. Together, it produces a retirement income of roughly $3,100 a month before taxes, in a world where your expenses have not shrunk as much as you hoped they would because healthcare costs are real and inflation was real, and the house needed things you didn't plan for. You are comfortable. You are not free. There is a difference between those two things that you feel every month when you look at the number and calculate how many years it needs to last. You think sometimes about the decisions that compounded into this life. The savings account you never questioned. The match you never captured. The credit card you paid minimums on for years. None of them felt like decisions at the time. They felt like the absence of decisions. Like the default path that everyone around you was also on, so it must have been fine. It was not fine. It was just common, and common is not the same as correct. Version 2 is 42. The retirement accounts hold $890,000. The house has $210,000 in equity. There is a taxable brokerage account with $140,000 in index funds generating dividends that get automatically reinvested every quarter. The net worth is $1.4 million and climbing faster every year than it climbed in the decade before because compounding accelerates as the base grows. Version 2 does not think about money the way version 1 does, not because money stopped mattering, because the anxiety is gone. The financial decisions are mostly made. The systems run automatically. The 401k contributes. The IRA funds every January. The mortgage pays down. The index funds compound. The freedom is not in the number. The freedom is in the absence of fear. The difference between watching a market downturn as someone with a funded emergency fund and a long-time horizon, and watching it as someone with $800 in savings and $11,000 in credit card debt, is not a financial difference. It is an entirely different relationship with your own life. You are 25 years old and you think you understand money because you have a savings account and no credit card debt. Or maybe you have some debt. Maybe the savings account is thinner than you would like. Maybe you have been meaning to figure the retirement stuff out and just haven't gotten there yet. None of that is the point. The point is that right now, at whatever age you are watching this, you are at the earliest moment you will ever be at again. The curve starts wherever you started. But it only compounds forward. Every year you wait is a year of compounding you cannot recover. Every year you act is a year working for you while you sleep. The spreadsheet was always there. The compound curve was always there. The rules were always there in plain view, written in language you were never taught to read but could learn in an afternoon if you decided to. You just typed something into a search bar. You watched one thing and then another. Somewhere in this video, the curve began for you. The only question left is whether you close the tab or keep going. Version 2 kept going. The markets are open. The clock is running. The only difference between the two versions of your life is what you do in the next hour.